Hello and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Adele and I'm a knitter from Western Canada. This is just a normal knitting podcast episode, so this is episode number 2. Thank you to those who are sticking around and watching the second one, and thank you to those who this is their first time here. Alright, I want to get started today with my whips. So I only have one whip on the needles, and it wasn't even something I had cast on last time I talked to you. So this is my one new whip. It is the Bodega Blouse by Postcard Knits. You can see there, it's just a nice simple boat neck summer top in the color Black Coffee by Sheep's Cotonia. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Please let me know if I'm not. And it's the color 162 Black Coffee. So the Bodega Blouse by Postcard Knits is a paid or free pattern. You can get free with a code that is in their Ravelry description, and is worked up on 4mm needles. It is supposed to be worked up in a DK weight yarn. However, I'm using Katona, which is a fingering weight yarn, but I still managed to get gauge with 4.0 needles. And then they have ruffles at the bottom. I've just started to work the ruffles here. And this little purl row is worked with 3.5mm needles. And this has options for bust shaping and waist shaping, both of which I've never worked before. So this has bust shaping, waist shaping, and ruffles. Never worked any of those before. So it's been such a fun challenge to kind of see how short rows for bust shaping are worked, decreases for waist shaping are worked, and increases for ruffles are worked. And this is going to be a really cute top. There is a folk music festival where I live in August every year, and I always try to plan cute outfits for that festival, and so this will definitely be on my list. I'm trying to finish it for a week, within a week for the music festival, but this will definitely be on my to wear list. All right, the other whips I've had are sort of on hold at the moment. I haven't really gotten around to working on them as much. My cousin got married, I'm working full-time, and it's just been kind of hard to keep track of all those whips, especially with knitting on 100% wool, which is a lot of what my other projects are. I should mention the Katona is 100% mercerized cotton, so it's nice and easy and light to work up, whereas something like Haynes Creek Heather, which is 100% Peruvian wool, is really, really difficult to have it sit in your lap and kind of knit up. Even today it's about 30 degrees outside, and I'm wearing the Clay Tee by Ozetta. This is a pattern I worked up in the winter time, so it would be ready for spring and summer, and I'm sweating in this. This is a DK weight yarn, and I find it quite heavy actually. I should actually say what this is. This is Knit Picks Cotton, so it's a mixture of cotton and linen in the color Rocket. Okay, let's move on to the one finished object for knitting in this video. My Norma sweater. This is her. Now the Norma sweater is a top-down raglan with these wonderful colorwork stripes, as you can see here. I knit this up in Knit Picks palette in the colors Bark, Bubblegum, I believe, and I want to say Marzipan. I will put the correct numbers or correct shade names up on the screen. But I worked this up. It took me about a month. I was working on it on and off. Mostly got done during work. I'm lucky enough to have a job that I can kind of, if there's downtime, I can kind of work on my knitting a little bit. But yeah, no complaints here. I did cut off the yoke a little bit early, as you can see here. So the actual yoke goes down to about here, and I cut it off at the top of that stripe instead. Just because I didn't want it to be too oversized on me and to have that kind of batwing dolman sleeve. I don't really like that look on me, so I decided to, cut off the yoke a little bit early. But this one worked out quite nicely. I actually did have some trouble with the cuffs. So I ordered this off of Knit Picks. I'm Canadian, which means that I need to reach a certain amount of shipping to get free shipping. And so I ordered just enough balls of yarn to get that free shipping when I first placed the order. And I went, it should be fine. I forget how many balls I ordered. I'll put my exact yarn count and everything I put in excruciating detail in my Ravelry. My Ravelry will be in the description if you want to check out this project. But I went, the amount of brown yarn that I have should be fine. It was. I worked up the first sleeve. I believe it was this sleeve. Worked it all the way up. And then I started to work on this sleeve, and right in the 2 rows before the end, I ran out of yarn. And it was enough where it was noticeable when I put the sweater on that one was like about, I would say, a centimeter shorter than the other. And it was obvious to me, and it was obvious to my partner when I asked him. So I unpicked my Rook bind off. I should say I did not use the Italian bind off on the body or on the cuffs of the sleeves. I used a Rook bind off. If you aren't familiar with what that is, I would highly, highly recommend it. It gives a similar amount of stretch and the same kind of look as an Italian bind off, but is much easier to work up. Anyways, unpicked my Rook bind off on this sleeve, unraveled 2 rows. Then I realized the ribbing looks a little bit too short. So I unwound it to about here and redid the ribbing to match the other sleeve. Because I realized that just the 2 rows off wouldn't be enough. Like, it would still kind of look uneven to me. So I just decided to redo the ribbing with whatever I had left, and I had just enough to bind off. I actually ended up doing an Icelandic bind off on the cuffs instead of a Rook bind off on the sleeve cuffs, because I thought it would use less yarn. I don't know if it did or if it didn't. But yeah, that was my justification for doing an Icelandic bind off. I think it turned out fine. This is what the Icelandic bind off looks like. It's pretty stretchy. And these are very oversized sleeves, so it's not going to bother me. I find I have a lot of like sensory things, like if a cuff is too tight on me, especially with knitwear, if a cuff's too tight on me and it's not elastic, I get really bothered by that. But these sleeves are nice and wide for me. So yeah, Icelandic bind off on the sleeves, Rook bind off on the body. Just barely eked this out, and I have at about 35 grams of the white left, and I think about 50 grams of the pink left, which if you add them together, that's nearly 100 grams. So that's enough to make some other garment in a pink and white stripe, something pink and white striped, which is pretty exciting. So that'll be a winter project, probably a hat or a mini scarf or a nice accessory, something with 100 grams of fingering weight yarn. Okay, we're back to talking about my Europe yarn. I have not touched it since I last showed you. It's very curled up because it's all stockinette, but that's what it looks like. I have gotten so many helpful comments on my last video, so thank you for everyone who took the time out of your day to give your opinion about my sweater and what I should do with it. It was very appreciated. One comment said just work it up as is. Another comment said this blue, this bright electric blue here, looks a bit out of place, which I agree with. That's why I kind of tried to mitigate it with this other lighter blue, the turquoisey color, if you can see here. I tried to add that in so that it wouldn't be overpowering. But someone suggested that I could make the cuff and the collar in this blue and kind of like save it. So that's a statement piece. I actually really like that idea. I might do that if I were to. I think I honestly might make the collar and cuffs this blue and have it kind of like that statement piece. I'm not sure how well that would pan out. I'm sorry, I'm like looking at it as I'm saying. But I honestly like that idea. I think it'd be pretty cool. The other idea I had was not doing an Olga sweater out of my Europe yarn and instead doing the Heirloom Quilt Cardigan or the Homecoming Quilt Vest by Katryn Seeburger. I was scrolling on Ravelry and it caught my eye and I was like, I've always wanted to knit that. And I looked and it's 2 fingering weights held together, which is what I'm currently doing now. 2 fingering held together for my Europe project. And I think it'd be such a cool way to play around with the colors and have them balance out with each other in a kind of a more controlled setting than just having the same pattern or stripes over and over on a sweater. So let me know your thoughts on that, and let me know, I'd really appreciate your thoughts on whether I should do the cardigan and then just buy yarn to do the rest of the sleeves, or to do the vest. I almost think that if I buy the cardigan pattern, I can have the option to do a vest by just omitting the sleeves or changing the size of the quilt motifs. Whereas if I do a vest, I can just add sleeves to it. Let me know if you've knit either one of the sweater or the vest and what your thoughts are. And if you think I should do that, or if I think I should just keep chugging along with my Olga. But honestly, I'm pretty set on at least doing the sweater or the vest at some point in my life. Maybe not with this yarn, but those patterns are beautiful. Now for sewing news. And then I'll stick around and I'll do my knitting acquisitions at the very end. So for sewing news, I've been chugging away. For my combined birthday and graduation gift, my parents got me a sewing machine, which was very, very cool of them. So I got the Janome 1522 in this color sage green. So it is a front-loading bobbin. It has a bunch of different stitch lengths. It has a 1-step buttonhole. Very exciting. So with that, I've made a few garments and a few accessories, which I'm going to show you now. So the first thing is I made this set of quilted bags. Sorry, this one's kind of floppy. This one's currently holding my makeup, but these two are project bags for knitting. So this one was holding my Bodega blouse just a minute ago, and this guy was holding my Norma blouse until I finished it. And I found this lovely, lovely fabric on sale at my local fabric store. And yeah, this one doesn't have any quilted designs. This one does, and this one does. So learning how to quilt and have those quilted designs on my bags has been such a fun learning process. And this is the, I just Googled like Boxy makeup bag on YouTube, and this is what popped up. Okay, now into sewing garments. This is the Shift Dress by Tess Patterns. It's a little bit wrinkly, but this is a free beginner pattern by Tess Patterns. And it was super easy to make, super fun to work up. It was my first time using interfacing, which you can see on the inside here, interfacing. And there's no shearing, there's no zippers, no buttons. So it's actually a very, very easy beginner project, and it's super fun. I can't wait to wear this and like go and grab coffee in like the fall or something with some boots and like a little white t-shirt underneath. I can just picture a whole outfit with this. Okay, next is the Dream Skirt by Sydney Graham. Sydney has a free YouTube tutorial up on her page with very, very detailed explanation on how to make your dream skirt to fit your exact measurements. It can have as many or as few panels as you want. And this was made out of just some quilted cotton that I got from my local fabric store. And this was also fabric that was on sale. So we love it. We love a good bargain when it comes shopping for fabric, especially since I'm not very good yet. I'm still a beginner. And then finally, this is the Soliday Dress by Les Perlines. This was from a secondhand fabric store, this beautiful, beautiful fabric. It is some kind of cotton. I think it might be cotton gauze. I'm not good at fabric, like pointing out what kind of fabric is what. I know there's like woven, knit, stretch knit, bathing suit, all that kind of material. I just know cotton is woven, and I don't know what cotton lawn is versus poplin versus, don't ask me. If someone could teach me or point me to a good resource, I would absolutely love that. But right now I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. But yes, this is the Soliday Dress by Les Perlines. You can see I added additional bust dart shaping because it was a bit too ill-fitting in the top, but in the back it has shearing. First time doing that. So shearing is when you put an elastic thread in the bobbin and a regular thread in your top machine, and then you sew it together and it creates this beautiful ruching effect that stretches open, so it you can take it on and off quite easily. And I apologize, I just finished this dress this morning, so I did not have time to snip the threads yet. Don't judge me. Okay, let's move into knit acquisitions. So the first acquisition is, of course, yarn. I got the Haynes Creek Heathers by Gathering Yarn DK in the color teal. And I'm going to use this to make the Storm Sweater by Petiteknit. So when Petiteknit had her 10th anniversary sale, I bought the Storm Sweater and the Ester jacket. And I'm planning on making the Storm Sweater first out of this lovely yarn. And I like how it's a little bit marled, if you can see there. It's a little bit marled, and I think that will help. I know the Storm Sweater is quite a busy sweater, but I like the idea of having this kind of sea glass blue to kind of fit with the fisherman style of that sweater. So yeah, and this yarn is quite squishy. I'm a big fan. It is 100% Peruvian wool. It is Alberta dyed, and so it is local to me, and it is 130 meters per 50 grams. And then another one of my local yarn stores had a 25% off sale for the long weekend, so I picked up 2 knitting cases. These are the Leica, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The Leica, this is the tailor bag. So it straps in at the front here, and then you open it up, and it has a place for all of your needles. You can see I'm kind of missing a few. And that has a place, little pocket for all of your notions, which is where I keep my cords. And just a note, I use Chiagoo Red Lace needles, but I didn't buy the interchangeable set. I actually priced it out, and for the size of needles that I want and I typically use, it would actually be cheaper just to buy them individually and kind of make my own set. So before I was just keeping them in all their individual bags and then throwing them into a pouch like this one and just kind of having it be a free-for-all. But I upgraded to have an actual beautiful crafter's case, which just makes me feel so accomplished and so professional whenever I go to knit. I'm like, oh, I get to open up my leather and denim bound case. And then the second one I picked up is the Weekender case, also by Leica. So it opens up like this, and it just has a little place for you to put all the notions you need just for one project. Let's say, as aptly named, if you were going away for the weekend or going on a plane ride. So in here I have just my ruler, a crochet hook, and I was on a plane recently because my cousin got married, and so I have nail clippers, which I use on the plane to cut my yarn instead of bringing along scissors, which have a risk of being confiscated. So if you haven't heard that hack, I know it's a pretty well-known hack, but if you haven't heard of that hack, try it out. It worked well for me. So yeah, this is the Weekender bag. And now I'm just gonna add some B-roll of me unboxing my Janome sewing machine. Okay, that is all I have for you today. I know it was a bit of a shorter one, but hopefully as my work settles down and things get a bit colder, I can already feel the fall tinge creeping in, and my fall knitting brain is starting to ramp up. So I hope that as the weather sort of starts to get a bit cooler, I'll feel more motivated to work on my knitting wool projects. So thank you again for coming and joining me as I talk about my knitting, and I hope to see you back next time. Bye!